Hi, everyone. I'm Assemblymember Bauer-Kahan, and today I'm hosting a conversation about scams and how you can protect yourself. I'm joined by two experts from our area, Alameda County District Attorney Nancy O'Malley and Verna Haas, the Executive Director of Contra Costa Senior Legal Services. DA O'Malley and Verna, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember.
My office has hosted two senior scam stopper workshops in the last year to provide information to our community about how to identify scams and protect yourself from them. This is something that we want to work with you on, make sure that everybody's safe, especially in these times. Given all the changes and disruptions to our lives with COVID-19, I've heard some discussions about new scams cropping up that are taking advantage of the situation and some of our vulnerable populations. Is that something either of your organizations have noticed or seen a rise of? And can you share a little bit about the scams you've seen since COVID-19 has popped up? And we can start with you, DA O'Malley.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for making sure our community is aware of what traps might be lying ahead of them. Unfortunately, when we have times of crisis, usually it's not uncommon for scam artists to come out, and particularly to prey on the seniors. One of the things that we've been seeing a lot of in the last few weeks is these scam letters that are announcing that they have a stimulus check, and even issuing something that looks like a check, and it turns out that they're not stimulus checks, obviously. That looks like it's coming from the U.S. Treasury. Then what we're finding now is they're mailing out these bogus checks, but demanding that the recipient call, text, email, or something in order to cash the check. And then that's a way for somebody to get into the person's bank account or into their personal identified information. So the stimulus check is something that's just really popped up, and so many people are waiting to receive their stimulus check that it seems like it's not unusual that it would arrive. But we're really putting out a lot of information to let people know to look for the validity of these checks, and never, ever, ever call or email or send any kind of personal information. The government will not ask for that ever from you. And so we want to make sure that people are clear about that. We also are seeing payments that are referred to as officially as what we're calling economic impact payments. And the same thing, that's weary of people that are calling and offering or letting them know that the scam artist is projecting themselves as the person who is making the delivery of these stimulus checks. Again, never give personal information to a stranger, never over the phone, and the IRS or the government will never ask for that kind of personal information, especially in relation to having some kind of a financial benefit afforded.
So it sounds like one of the keys to that is that recognize that if they're asking for too much information, it's probably a scam. Is that what people should be looking for?
Well, and I would say not even asking too much information. They should not be asking for any information. So the checks are being distributed based on tax records and other identifying official information. If it's a senior who's receiving Social Security or is a Medicare recipient, then the government already has their information. It's not unlike scams. In a while back, we were hearing about these scams where somebody would call and say, "Grandma, Grandpa, I'm in jail. I need your help. Please help me get out of jail." And now what we're seeing is these calls are coming saying, "Grandma, Grandpa, I need your stimulus money. I need help," and things like that. And so anytime, we just really warn everybody, not just seniors, but everybody, never give out any information over the phone or through the internet on something that you haven't yourself requested.
That makes sense. And I think that I want to add that if anybody has questions about these stimulus checks, to reach out to one of our offices. Our office is here to help, and I know both Congressman DeSonia and Congressman Swalwell's phones are being staffed, and they can answer questions about whether the questions being asked are legitimate as well. So always reach out if there are questions before you do anything. The last thing we want is for people to be victimized right now. And Verna, what are you seeing? Are you seeing anything similar, different?
We were getting lots of calls about the stimulus check. My hope is that the majority of people have already received them, but I'm with you that I would really encourage people, if they have questions, to reach out to a reputable, trusted source. So we're happy to answer questions for any seniors in Contra Costa, because there will be some minority of folks, people making under $12,000 a year, who haven't had to file a tax return. Those people may need to access the portal, and we're happy to help with that. And I'm sure your office too would be a wonderful resource.
Absolutely. And I know that I was looking just the other day at Congressman Swalwell's website. His official website has a lot of information on how to get these stimulus checks. So that's another great reputable resource. So what if someone feels like maybe they've been victimized and they got one of these calls, DML, what should they do?
Well, we encourage them to contact our hotline, or they, calling the local police is probably not going to help very much. But we have a hotline through our consumer protection unit, and I know we have a lot of community partners, such as in Alameda County, it's Legal Assistance for Seniors, and other organizations. Our Family Justice Center, same thing in Contra Costa County, the Family Justice Center is available to help, and Ms. Haas's organization also. So make the report. And the reason why we say make the report is because if we see a trend, because scammers they will trend. They will pick a neighborhood, they'll pick a community. In Contra Costa County, we've seen this where Rossmore is targeted. In Alameda County, other senior living centers are targeted. So if we receive the report, then we can first reach out to the FBI, because if it's using the wires or across telephone lines, that can generate federal involvement. But it also lets us to warn people in a certain demographic or a certain community to be aware this is a scam that's going on in your community, in your neighborhood.
That's great advice. Verna, do you have any advice for those in Contra Costa, additional resources they should reach out to?
Yes, our Family Justice Center, our DA's office, and the APS are all part of what we call EAP, which is not a great acronym, but it stands for the Elder Abuse Prevention Project. And so we have a no wrong door policy, and they can contact our organization or the Family Justice Center and the DA's office, the victim witness, and they'll get them through to the right people.
Thank you. So now we've talked about what to do if you've potentially been the victim of a scam. Do you have any advice for how to prevent yourself from becoming a victim? Something proactive people can do before this happens? We can start with you.
One of the things we recommend is that if someone ever gets a suspicious email, or it looks like someone is hacked, and we're actually seeing more hacking of emails, which are very frightening, because what the hackers will do is they will sometimes just guess email or passwords, but they will send a threat that says, I have your email, I have your password, I've been trolling you on the internet. If you don't pay me money now, then I'm going to expose you to your community, or I'm going to expose you publicly for going to porn sites or whatever they're using as a scam. So anytime somebody has anything suspicious about their email, there are two things that we recommend. Contact your email provider, which can be, Gmail or one of those, but also change your password. And your password is really critical. The other thing is that, we're seeing, and this is a little bit of another scam, but people are really anxious to get the wipes for your hands or for cleaning agents during this time. And we're seeing now more advertisements on Facebook and Instagram and other social media sites that are advertising these items that you can't just walk into a grocery store anymore and buy, or can't walk into Target or Walmart and buy. And so what we're telling people now is, if you see something online that you're interested in purchasing, there's a couple things. First, look up the company before you purchase it. You can go to the Better Business Bureau and see if there's ever been, first of all, if the company exists. Secondly, if there are any complaints about the company. And third, at the bottom of any ad that is encouraging people to buy something from them, there would be a little lockbox or some designation by the internet provider that says this is a trusted source to give your money. Because what we're now finding is that a lot of these advertisements turn out to be nothing. There's nothing, there's no there. People are giving them money, they're giving their credit card information, and they get no product because there is no product, there's no company. So doing our homework before we spend any money online is really recommended. And I know sometimes for our senior population that are not as, maybe aren't as savvy on the internet, or they're not using the internet so much for purchasing, but this is something that's drawing them to the internet, that we're really urging people to learn how to navigate the internet in terms of purchasing for sure. Look for that little lockbox or something that indicates that it's a trusted provider, and then just look up the Better Business Bureau to see if that company really exists.
That's great advice. We all are having to rely more on internet shopping right now with the inability to go out, but we need to do it safely. So thank you. Verna, any advice on how to prevent becoming a victim?
Well, one of the things that was brought to my attention by Shauna Reeves over at Institute on Aging was the new rise of these volunteer match programs, which have been a lifeline for seniors and really wonderful for the volunteers. But we also want to urge our seniors to use caution and not to disclose their confidential financial information to volunteers, not to share their PIN or their credit card numbers, and just make sure that this is a good program for all involved by being a little bit cautious.
And that's another place where it's important to go through reputable sources. Most of our cities are connections to really good volunteer organizations right now. I know my office has a list of places you can go if you need delivery. Our old trusted sources, Meals on Wheels, is delivering meals. So there are amazing sources out there that we know we can trust. So make sure that those are the ones we're relying on as well. So we talked a lot about individuals and what can happen to them, but one of the communities that is suffering the most right now is our small businesses. And so I'm just wondering if there have been any scams targeting our businesses and what advice you might have for our business owners. Dia O'Malley?
Well, we haven't seen as many of those. I mean, part of what we're now dealing with is many of our small businesses are shut down due to the shelter in place, and they're not an essential company or providing an essential service, so they're not really available. Some of our small businesses have actually boarded up their windows to avoid having their stores be burglarized and things like that. And I think that is a smart thing to do. But in terms of trying to scam the businesses, we haven't seen that much in my county.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. How about you, Verna? Have you heard anything I know you work mostly with seniors, but have you heard of anything in Contra Costa to that effect?
The only inquiries we have are around leases and people raising the rates of their rents. And while we don't handle that, I would encourage folks to seek legal advice, because depending on the jurisdiction, there may be additional protections for commercial leases.
And that's great advice, because our small businesses right now are not in a position to be handling rent hikes. So it's important that they get the assistance they need if it's there. So thank you both so much. This has been incredibly helpful. Some really essential information for our communities on how to spot and prevent scams and make sure they don't become victims, and then what to do if they do see one of these and how to help prevent future ones. So thank you both. I know this is an incredibly difficult time for our entire community, but especially our seniors. And so I'm glad we're getting this information out to them. And thank you so much for being our partners out in the community for helping serve our seniors every day. We appreciate you. And I want everyone listening to remember that my office is here to provide you with assistance in this way or in any other way, as are both Senior Legal Services and the DA's offices. So give us a call if you need help. My district staff is answering phones as usual, so you can get us. We're virtual, but we're available. And so you can reach us at 925-328-1515, or you can email us at Assemblymember.Bauer-Kahan@asm.ca.gov. Thank you both for joining us, and thank you everyone for tuning in.